The name associated with professional wrestling in a controversial but influential class has been Vince McMahon. With his vision and drive, he has, in fact, transformed the face of wrestling, saved WWE from bankruptcy. In this video, we'll discuss those key points and strategic decisions that had empowered Vince McMahon to save WWE from financial ruin and now respect it as a globally prestigious platform. Early struggles in the visionary takeover. Early in the 1980s, WWE, still under the name World Wrestling Federation or WWF, then was just a regional promotion surviving through struggles. This was a company managed by Vince McMahon Sr., who still followed and confided in the conventional territorial system of wrestling. It was a system of divided rights throughout the United States, managed by different wrestling promotions. Vince McMahon Jr. had a revolutionary vision to take wrestling from a regional spectacle to a national and eventually global phenomenon. Buying out his father. In 1982, Vince McMahon Jr. acquired the company from his father, and it was a move that put him under tremendous financial risk. His clear vision was to break away from the territorial system and develop a wrestling empire that spanned the globe. It required colossal investment and a bold course of action to place his company at the top in a risky financial state. Early on, McMahon's reign was embattled with a lot of challenges. Many within the wrestling community at the time viewed the expansionist tactics he used as threatening. The financial pressure of finally buying his father out and moving towards national expansion had the company in a very precarious position.
It's the right time to do the right thing, and it's the next evolution of WWE.
But McMahon believed in his vision and kept pushing on. National expansion and WrestleMania. One of McMahon's earliest decisive moves in the direction of national expansion was in securing a television deal that would carry WWF programming nationally. He also signed top talent from other promotions, such as Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, and Andre the Giant. However, these moves were expensive and put the company's finances under a lot of stress. The birth of WrestleMania. In 1985, McMahon went a step further, stepping into the creation of the wrestling event WrestleMania, which would mix the sports element with entertainment by the use of celebrities and high-profile matches. Most notably, to finance the event, McMahon bet everything that was in his life, staking the future that basically included the risking of the fortune the company had in the success of this single event. It all paid off. WrestleMania 1, held in Madison Square Garden, proved to be a hit in terms of both the box office and viewership. This set the parameters for what future WrestleManias would be and cemented WWF's hold as a leader in sports entertainment. This was the financial shot in the arm the company needed to forge further expansion and innovation. The importance of WrestleMania was that not only did it save the company from its financial crisis, but also redefined the wrestling business. The event proved that wrestling could be a full-bore, mass entertainment product, able to attract an audience transcending the traditional wrestling fanbase. Its success motivated McMahon to press on, creating newer and better ideas of what wrestling could be. Innovations in the Monday Night Wars. But following the success of WrestleMania, McMahon moved on to other ideas that redefined and changed the very face of the wrestling world. He added new concepts and characters to liven up WWF programming to popularize among a wider audience. The introduction of pay-per-view. The other major innovation of McMahon was the introduction of pay-per-view events. This model allowed the fans to buy and view major wrestling happenings in the comfort of their home. The Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and SummerSlam turned into annual events, bringing in solid cash and turning out to be good financial support for WWF. The Monday Night Wars. In the mid-1990s, WWF was amidst a heated feud with the wrestling promotion World Championship Wrestling, or WCW, owned by the media magnate Ted Turner. Seeking to counter-program WWF, WCW aired their show, Monday Nitro, opposite WWF's Monday Night Raw. These events started what became colloquially known as the Monday Night Wars, as it was WCW's more aggressive tactics, like signing away WWF talent and offering titillating but controversial themes in more edgy, adult-oriented content, posed a real threat to WWF's dominance. It was all that during the Monday Night Wars that pushed McMahon to rethink and retool his product. He did so with edgier WWF programming, more intense storylines, and characters playing to an older demographic of fans. This change in essence allowed WWF to retake its footing back and laid the work for one of wrestling's greatest periods. The Attitude Era and Financial Resurgence. In response to the challenge of WCW, McMahon gave to light a new era and new product for WWF, which targeted more of the adult crowd, the Attitude Era. It bore more shock and aggressiveness with controversial storylines and the upsurge of today's most popular wrestlers, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and D-Generation X. Embracing controversy. The Attitude Era was just more open to pushing the envelope. Vince McMahon became a character within the show, feuding with wrestlers like Steve Austin. It was in these years that the television ratings and pay-per-view buys grew incredibly, and hence so did the revenue and especially the profitability of the company. The perspective was not shifting entirely into the age of Attitude because of its shock value, but also because of the way it reached an audience devoid of other interesting factors. The ability of McMahon to sense the cultural atmosphere and refine his product in relation to the changing taste of viewers played to a pivotal factor in the resurrection of WWF. Financially, the company began to turn a corner. One of the big major reasons for this was because of the popularity in the company's programming and the large, attention-grabbing personalities personifying the era. The purchase of WCW. Because WCW was horribly managed and had collapsed in 2001, Vince McMahon was able to buy WCW and finally put his North American-based competition out of business once and for all. In acquiring WCW, he absorbed and integrated the considerable video library that WCW had managed to accrue over its existence, as well as the WCW talent roster when he purchased WCW, solidifying WWF's dominant position within the wrestling business. The purchase of WCW was one of those landmark deals in wrestling. It really showed the close of an era of excruciating battle to the death and filed into a time of retrenchment for the WWE. It's just that the acquired content could also be repurposed to whatever the management decided and catered for future programming, which added up to the company's value in the long term. Going public and the birth of WWE. Having successfully beaten out and neutralized the competition, WWF was riding high on the success of the Attitude Era. In 1999, McMahon decided to take the company public to get new investment. The IPO brought in a great deal of capital to continue expanding and innovating. Rebranding to WWE. In 2002, he had to change that name due to a legal dispute with the World Wildlife Fund over the WWF initials to World Wrestling Entertainment. This rebranding set the stage for the company with the spotlight on the entertainment viewpoint and built upon a lot more than the frame for traditional wrestling. The rebranding to WWE was more than a renaming but a change in strategic flow that was in sync with McMahon's overall vision for the company. Emphasis on entertainment allowed WWE to position itself as a content provider that was very versatile in its appeals across a wide range of audiences. This, therefore, saw WWE venture into new sources of revenue and diverse opportunities. Diversification and global expansion. Under the rebooted branding, McMahon continued diversifying WWE's product line and spreading his business globally. In 2014, WWE launched its own streaming service, the WWE Network, on which wrestling fans can see an enormous load of content alongside live pay-per-view events. International markets. He understood the capacity of the international markets, and so McMahon plunged aggressively into markets of India, China, and Saudi Arabia. WWE also entered into partnership with the local broadcasters for the airing of the live events it hosted in the same regions, which increased both its global and revenues rapidly. Expanding digital presence. The most monumental mark eventually came with the introduction of the WWE Network. Finally, it was directly to the consumer, bypassing the traditional program distributors of cable and satellite, putting the control back into WWE's hands with regard to their content and revenue streams. To succeed in the network proved that McMahon forecast the general trend, the future growth for digital content consumers, and it could indeed turn around the WWE business model. Overcoming scandals and legal challenges. During his presidency, Vince McMahon has gone through a lot of scandal and legal battles, most of which, of course, were centered around steroid use by wrestlers and most recently inappropriate behavior. But it's his tenacity and business skills that have seen him successfully fight his way out of these problems and progressively lead the company toward the right path to success. The steroid scandal. The biggest insult McMahon had to take at one time was undoubtedly in the early 90s with the steroid scandal. Some of his wrestlers were indicated in taking performance-enhancing drugs, so the use came under a federal investigation. McMahon was indicted himself, but was eventually acquitted of all charges. In response, WWE officials applied a wellness policy for the talent's overall being in terms of health and safety for life. The steroid scandal was among WWE's worst blights, but it also showed how McMahon could triumph over adversity and emerge even stronger on the other side. Indeed, the wellness policy that followed has been held up as an example for other sports organizations to model themselves on and underlined WWE's commitment to caring for its performers. Legacy and influence. One cannot deny the huge impact that Vince McMahon has made on the wrestling industry. This was his vision that changed WWE from a struggling regional promotion into a global entertainment powerhouse. The adaptability of McMahon with respect to changing market dynamics, embracing innovation, and taking risks is the only reason WWE has sustained and progressed. Mentoring the next generation. As WWE has grown, Vince McMahon has helped raise the next generation of leaders. His daughter, Stephanie McMahon, and son-in-law, Paul Triple H Levesque, have become entrenched cogs of WWE's machine. The next generation of that company's leaders being increasingly shaped by McMahon's legacy, vision, and executorial instincts. The story of Vince McMahon, from taking over an already suffering regional promotion to creating a world icon in the area of entertainment, is the perfect realization of the man's vision, resilience, and relentless pursuit of success. Through revolutionary programming, shrewd acquisitions, and the compelling vision of the man himself, he succeeded not only in reviving WWE from the brink of bankruptcy, but in turning it into a cultural phenomenon. His legacy will continue to influence the world of professional wrestling for generations to come. No matter how much McMahon himself steps back from the operations, his influence is perennial. WWE continues innovating new formats of matches, interactive experience for fans, and, most importantly, constant evolution of lineups of superstars. The fact that a company can remain relevant in such a fluctuating field of entertainment clearly goes back to how McMahon initially laid down the groundwork. WWE, under the leadership of McMahon, has also managed to score in doing common good to the community and charity. Such activities are evident in the WWE community relations programs, in addition to the partnerships entered with organizations such as Make-A-Wish Foundation, which help to build the reputation of WWE and foster a good rapport with the fan base. The life of Vince McMahon is a story of vision, risk, and determination. Where others saw limitation, he saw potential, and grew a struggling regional promotion into a global phenomenon. McMahon's ability to steer WWE around financial crisis, intense competition, and various scandals speaks to his resilience and strategic acumen. The dynamic story of WWE always proves how McMahon really did establish himself as a pioneer and directly saved professional wrestling. His life has inspired generational entrepreneurs and entertainers ahead, proving that with foresight and determination, even the tallest of problems can be surmounted.